And hello, and welcome to another episode of TO Battle Talk. My name is Chris. I am here with Matt.
How's it going, guys?
Yep, it's going very well with me. How are things with you?
Very well.
Good. So we're here to talk about some battle rap. A lot of things going on in the last few weeks, especially since our last episode, which was at least a month ago.
Yeah.
So lots to talk about. We're going to try a few different things. If you've been following the show, usually it's just kind of stream of consciousness conversations, talk about some battles that came out, talk about what's going on in the news. We're going to actually try a segment this time. We're going to talk about who's up, who's down. Pretty exciting.
Yo, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's progress.
Yeah, exactly. What's the opposite of progress must be Congress?
Is that a joke from something?
I think it's some line. So we'll try that. We will also talk about our predictions for King of the Dot's upcoming BOLA5, Battle of LA 5 event happening June 27th, 28th, as long as those dates correspond with the Friday and the Saturday. So we're going to run down the day 2 card and talk about what we think may happen. I've always said it's impossible to predict battle rap, but everybody seems to try to, and then when nothing comes true, sweep it under the carpet and talk about what did happen.
Yeah, so we're going to delete this podcast after everything we say is wrong.
Right, yes.
So listen to it now.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those Mission Impossible self-destruct podcasts that will delete and wipe your hard drive once you've listened to it. So I think the first thing that we should talk about, though, is the ongoing Pat Stay saga. Will he stay or will he go as King of the Dot champion? For anyone who hasn't been following this, about maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago now, TOBattleBlog was, I think, the first major outlet to really address what was happening with Pat Stay. So we put out a post, like a post/article, quoting a Sharon interview where Sharon said Pat Stay is going to step down as champion, or that he predicted that Pat Stay was going to step down as champion. And then he speculated that it was because he was ducking Sharon, which I think is not too outlandish, really.
But of course, that's how Sharon's going to spin it.
Right.
Like, he's ducking me.
Right. Yeah. There's one thing to be said, like, if you don't want to battle someone, is that ducking? If you don't want to battle someone that wants to battle you.
I think there's definitely an element where, like, you're just like, why would I waste my time on this clown? And I think Pat Stay may fall into that camp. Like, He's been battling, like, top-tier U.S. guys now for years, you know. For him, looking at Sharon, he's like, man, this is like going back to my days when I battled HFK.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago that Sharon, one of his breakout battles was against HFK at, like, Blackout 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that was only about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, so I think for Pat, like, I don't think it's necessarily ducking so much as, like, he might look at this as regression.
Fair enough, yeah. So, Pat, we kind of speculated, okay, maybe Pat could battle Charlie Clips, maybe he could battle Daylight. Real Deal, I think, is still seen somewhat as a contender, but has had 2 battles, both at Vendetta and at Blackout 4, canceled, unfortunately, both against Ill Will, who didn't make it for various reasons. So I think Real Deal's name is a little bit further down the list of number 1 contenders. If he bodies Chilla at V2 or at BOLA5, I think that there's a real there'll be an upswing of people who want to see him battle for the title. But even Pat definitely is following what's happening either on our site or in the battle rap sphere, because I saw him tweet, why would anyone battle Real Deal? Like, he's way too hard an opponent. He even Pat Stay even said, well, we're kind of jumping all over the place now, but he also said this week that he would be willing to battle Daylight.
Really?
Did you not see this?
No, I didn't
said,
see that.
Daylight, let's do it. And then, yeah, which is a big deal. I think that was actually today or yesterday that he said that. He said that, and then he also said, but it won't be at World Domination 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also said, it'd be cool to do it in LA. He said, somewhere, I have the screenshot here. He said, someone says, I know you ain't no Mark, but LA be wildin'. Woo! So white. And then Pat Stay said, good, that's the type of environment I like battling in, rather than a bunch of kids cheering for every breath I take.
Wow.
He said, yeah.
Time to get out of Toronto.
Yeah. So...
be careful what you wish for as well. Yeah.
He says, I'd much prefer it to be in LA, believe me. He says, the direct quote is, let's do it, Daylight, at Daylight 2K. Daylight responded saying, heard Pat, let's lock it in. Also tagging organic. And then Pat said, can't be for WD5 though. Sorry if I'm letting anyone down. So it sounds as though Pat Stay will not be battling at World Domination 5. If he is willing to battle, I guess the next one would be Battle of the Bay 7, presumably in October in Oakland. Do you think that he should be required to vacate the title if he's not going to defend it at World Domination?
Not necessarily. Like if he has legitimate reasons for why he can't do it at World Domination. Like I think there are only like a few big events per year that the title can be up for grabs in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand if like you want to skip one of those just because you're like, hey, I've got some things going on, or sometimes we forget that these battlers like have lives. This is a very small component of their lives. So if he can't do it at WD5 for whatever reason, that's fine. If he can't do it, in Oakland, which apparently if he's living in Alberta, that's even closer to him than Toronto is. But if he can't do it at two major events, then I would say, okay, you've got to vacate it. You've got to do like a whole contenders thing and, whatever else you need to do to get it in the right hands. But, it would be a shame to see it go that route because he is maybe their greatest champion.
Yeah, I would agree that he is their greatest champion. I think that not having him at World Domination 5 and also not having a title match at World Domination 5 is a pretty big hit in terms of buzz. I know that a lot of people think, oh, the title doesn't hold weight and get rid of the title and it doesn't mean anything. But I think it's kind of, to some extent, the last battle that does mean something. And especially if they can get someone on Pat Stay's level to be interested in it, whether that be Charlie Clips, whether that be Daylight. I think to be honest, like Sharon, Charlie Clips, or Daylight, you can make an argument for all three of them. Mm-hmm. And a good argument for all three of them. Yeah. And I think all three of those battles would be huge for world domination. I also think that, maybe, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but like if Pat doesn't battle at World Dom 5, then have Sharon versus Daylight for the number one contender, to have something on the line.
Right, yeah.
Or Clips versus Sharon for the number one contender, or have, I don't know, Daylight and Clips are battling at BOLA, so it can be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to whet everyone's appetite to a degree, for something to come. Part of me would actually really like to see Pat in the States. I think that's the one thing missing from his resume is that he's not battled a great opponent in the States or battled in the States.
Any
period.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done some of the Scandinavia stuff, but those those battles sort of seem like a free vacation in a way, right?
Right.
It would be great to see him like outside of that Toronto crowd that absolutely loves him, and go up against good competition in a place that's foreign to him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that would work out for the best. Actually, him versus Clips in Oakland or something that could really yield like an amazing battle.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe that's maybe there is like a good result out of all this.
I think though that like I've seen either Pat say or when I was interviewing Gully about the rebranding of Ground Zero, I think it was Gully had said that a lot of battlers actually don't like the stage and much prefer the pit format, including Pat Stay. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Pat had ever said it publicly, but I can. Being on the stage is a very different vibe, and being in Toronto is a very different vibe than being in LA or Oakland, which, from my experience, in both of these or in all of these places, Oakland and LA are pretty much what King of the Dot Toronto was like 2 or 3 years ago. So venues, a bit like the Blackout 2 or the World Dom 123 venue, like Club XS.
Yeah.
Pit style, kind of Coliseum standing room, so a lot of different risers.
Yeah.
Or there was a stage you can stand on or a staircase you can stand on. So everyone was kind of like looking down, whereas at Battle of the Base 6, you had a risen platform and everyone around looking up at them. So I think as long as you have that kind of format, it's good. But I think that, Pat Stay has proven, both in the Arcane and in the Disaster battles, that like he can own the stage. Like that huge, you have 1,000 people cheering for him. Whereas I think that LA or Oakland, while those could be like fine, I think there's something less like epic about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Also, I think from a Torontonian's perspective, I like having the title matches here because, say, Daylight wins it and then has to battle Big K out in LA. It's a lot of money for plane tickets to go and see them live.
Yeah, it's always been a nice feature for Toronto or Canadian battle fans that the title matches and the truly epic events have always been here. Mm-hmm. I mean that's the thing. Like I would be worried about the chain getting stuck in the States. Mm-hmm. That's nothing against the States. Like maybe we're a little greedy up here with having the chain up here in all these battles in Canada, but if it's tough. Like as great as Big K is, like if he ever gets a hold of that chain, it's like you're not going to see any title shots in Canada for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I think all we need to say about Pat Stay. Good for him.
Yeah, I think so. I think one last thing, like wouldn't sleep on Real Deal. Like we haven't seen much from him in a while, but like guy's got a stellar resume. Like that battle, him and Pat Stay would be phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It would really be good. So yeah, I would not be mad at that. I think there are 4 guys there that you could really make a case should get a shot. But I mean, I don't know if the company would allow Daylight. Because I could see Daylight winning the chain and then in his first defense, like farting on it and throwing it in the crowd and then leaving.
Yeah, I mean, for all of Daylight's antics,
he steps up like when it matters.
He steps up when it matters, and I don't think he's
not against Pesci.
Yeah, but he never has disrespected King of the Dot. Mm-hmm. He's always been. Well, I guess he missed the Fingers battle, but that's.
That was due to circumstances.
Yeah. I think Total Slaughter was the circumstance.
Yes, that was the circumstance.
But
and I mean, there are other people that missed battles because of that too, right?
Yeah, true. But I don't know. He seems to always be. Well, I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say always on his best behavior, but again, the Pesci thing definitely pushing the limits of one's best behavior. Like, anyhow, whatever. Daylight's a whole other conversation. But, I think that King of the Dot is kind of stuck in the position where it's like, okay, well, we either strip Pat of the title or we give him what he wants. And he seems to be interested in he seems to only be interested in a Daylight battle. And it's still interesting.
Yeah.
I think that you can make that case for Daylight having a contender for Battle of the Year versus Chilla.
Mm-hmm.
Daylight is also, for all the different leagues that he's been to in the last couple of years, I think a lot of people see him as a KOTD battler.
Yeah.
He got the breakout performances with Philly Swain and Rich Dawes.
Mm-hmm.
The Skelly battle was really good. The KG battle, I thought Daylight was really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Head Ice.
Head Ice, yeah, I was going to forget that one. So I think that he's done well in all of his battles here. He's, from what I can tell, done good business here.
Yeah.
And they've done good business with him, So we'll see. Daylight has yet to be on URL.
I don't think that day is coming anytime soon, no matter how many times he hits up Smack on Twitter.
Yeah. I think that's it. Is once you hit up Smack in real life,
yeah,
it doesn't matter how many times you hit him up on Twitter. So anyhow, I think there's such an X factor with Daylight Pat Stay that I think that's actually the most interesting match. I think that Sharon versus Pat Stay is kind of like, if Sharon wins the title, I think a lot of people will see that as, almost the equivalent right now of like the Sketch Menace reign, title reign, or the
Poe Rich title,
reign, the like sullied Arcane title reign. Like you need Pat to lose it to either Clips or Daylight to to keep the top tier elite.
It's funny though, because like at one point, everyone was like, "It has to be Sharon. This is ridiculous. Why aren't they giving him a shot?"
Yeah.
Like people were just like, "What? They're giving it to Disaster again?" Like there was a time when people were going insane because it kind of tells you stuff about where Sharon is this year. He was our #1 battler of last year.
Yep.
Hasn't really done a lot yet.
He's had one battle against
and he lost.
Yeah.
Arguably. I mean, I think we think he lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have been like, "Oh, you gotta get Sharon."
I think, and when they gave it to Disaster, I think that was a pretty shocking pick. I think they did it again, from what I can tell, that they needed Pat Stay to step up and take on Arcane because there was no other clear #1 contender.
Yeah.
So Pat Stay stepped in, got a bunch of money.
He wasn't going to lose.
And I think it was a pretty close battle. I think that Arcane did great, and and Pat did fine, and I still think he legitimately won the battle.
Yeah.
Got the chain, and when I interviewed him in Nova Scotia a year ago, he said like, "Oh yeah, I get to pick mine." Or I asked him, "Do you get to pick your next opponent?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Is it going to be Disaster?" And he said, "If he's lucky." So if you let the champion pick their next opponent, that's kind of setting a dangerous precedent. But I think that
in some ways it did kind of make sense though. Like I mean, Pat Stay, he's gonna want to get at least some. Like if he's gonna put the title on the line and maybe lose to someone, he's gonna want to do that against someone in Disaster who's gonna get him 2 or 3 times as many views as Sharon.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, it just, for a lot of reasons, it actually did make a lot of sense that he did that, whether or not we thought Disaster deserved it.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't I think that Sharon Pat could get a lot of views if Sharon beats Pat. I think if Pat beats Sharon, maybe less.
Yeah.
I think people know who Sharon is at this point. I think,
Oh, yeah.
Not just people, but everyone. I think URL fans are starting to kind of catch wind of who this...
He'll be on UW soon.
Yes. So I think that's been announced now that Sharon will be there. The rumors are, I've heard rumors about Chilla. There are rumors about B Magic as well. We'll see. Probably they'll have announced that it's one of those two by the time this podcast comes out.
One thing that's interesting about that, not to get on a huge tangent, but like when I guess they're called UW now, right?
Yeah, they changed their name.
Yeah. So when UW was promoting it, we've got Sharon for the next card. It's who do you want to see him face? Everyone was like, JC.
Really?
And so many people were saying JC, and then it's he's going to be up against Keisha. And now that I'm thinking about it, Sharon JC would have been kind of fun, I think. Would have been all right.
Yeah.
Compared with what's going to be the alternative.
Right. Which we think is going to be B Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an odd matchup.
Yeah. Let's move into our first segment. Who's up? Who's down? So, who's up, who's down? I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Who's doing well and who's doing less well.
Who's fucking up?
Yeah. So, let's talk about who is down first, because we were talking about B Magic. So, personally, I think B Magic is pretty down. In his last, I think he said recently, his last 4 performances, he has stumbled or choked. That includes the one versus Big T at NOME 4, which is still unreleased. That includes versus Rum Nitty at V2R. It might include the Guerrilla Warfare battle versus JC, which I think is out today, but I haven't seen it yet. I can't remember if he stumbled in that or not. And what would the 4th one have been? Oh, the Ill Will battle. I can't remember if he stumbled, but a lot of people, especially in the building, thought he lost that one.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I haven't watched that with as much attention as I should have. I don't remember if he won or not. But anyhow, by his own account, he's stumbled in his last 4 performances, whatever they may have been. I think that Magic is a guy that the lyrics are always there. Mm-hmm. His writing is among the best in the scene. He's still one of, if not the top puncher. I think he's always interesting to watch. He's going to have probably some of the best bars of the event of the year. Every time he shows up. But if he's taking that many battles, because his style is. It's not like you can just remember the first word and then everything flows all together and it's all one concept and it's all like a story. No, it's just line after line after line of solid punches, which I think is probably really tough to connect, memorization wise. So maybe that's what the problem is. He's taken a lot more battles in the last 6 or 8 months than he has in the past, probably because he's so popular and everybody wants him on the card.
Yeah.
So, as much as, B Magic fans may disagree, I think that he is down compared to some of his more impressive performances against Tay-Rock, a lot of his early performances. Chilla Jones, Real Deal, Scripps, Lynx Montana, all those early ones that are incredible and that launched him to where he is now. He's kind of, the performance is lacking, which hasn't really hurt his stock that much lately. I saw with the Big T battle, he said, oh, I'm fucking up. I need to I'm angry now. I'm hungrier now. But you know, oh, and I choked in this Big T battle, and then like a tweet later being like, I still won though, you know.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't Big T fucking up too?
I think everybody was fucking up that night.
Yeah, people were saying some awful things about Big T.
Yeah,
poor guy.
Big T is another guy who's down.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think people people give a bit of leeway, I think, to be Magic though, for the reason that you mentioned, that it's just like that all of the stuff doesn't necessarily connect. So like if he has a stumble, it's like, oh well, you know, the degree of difficulty is so high anyway. Like we'll permit one of these per battle,
right?
So
yeah.
like when I look at like the nitty thing, like I don't come away thinking, oh man, he was shit. Really,
right?
Like,
no, he won the battle.
He won the battle. Yeah. Like he was still really great.
Yeah.
So he's like, because of his style, he's almost able to like get away with it to an extent that like others aren't.
Yeah. I think also in the nitty battle there were 2 stumbles. One was of his own doing, I believe, in the second or third round.
Yeah.
And then in the first,
did they edit out a stumble?
They did. So I'd kind of forgotten about this until I saw someone point out.
Yeah, when I watched it, it was like I thought like he stumbled out of the gate, and then when I watched the replay, it was just like smooth, and I was like, huh?
It was so. When I was there live, and also if you look at the pay-per-view, there is a stumble in the first round that was edited out of the official footage, and that's because he was going so like he just like was cooking right from the start, and like there was a guy in the crowd, some dude who I don't know who he was, but for some reason I think he was on lean. Which seems like, because, I mean, the first clue is he was at that event, and it seemed like everybody was drinking lean there.
Yeah.
But
in the venue?
In the venue. Like, this guy, like, as Magic was going, you could kind of hear this guy in the background on the stage, like, kind of a few rows back on stage, being like, oh, he's so good! He's so good! Like, everyone's, like, turning around and being like, dude, shut up. He's like just unable to contend with how impressive B Magic was live. And everyone was like, dude, shut up. And then like Magic's turning around being like, what's this guy talking about? What's happening over here? So it was that guy's fault. It wasn't, you know, it's not Magic. You know, it wasn't like he forgot his shit. It was like there was a commotion because some whacked out dude was going crazy on stage and ruining the footage, really, which I think is the Avocado's reason for fixing the footage.
Yeah, in that case, I'm totally fine.
And I think the reason I think it was lean is because, like, later that night, I don't know if I either saw a photo on Instagram or just saw the guy there, like, passed out on the benches in the back of the club. So anyhow, so that's why the stumble was there, or why the stumble was edited. So, okay, that's Magic. We talked a little bit about URL. I think they're another one that you could argue had a rough time. I think they were up. You know, if we had done this before NOME 4, I would have said they're up. They had UFF, which was a good look for them. They seemed to be picking up that Arizona card. They were putting out some nice PG battles, you know, kind of gaining momentum again. And then the NOME 4 canceled. We didn't talk about this on tape yet, but they got shut down. They tried to have an event. You know, Smack explained it at the beginning of that Ill Will DNA footage. He says, okay, well, a bunch of battlers arrived late, which means we couldn't get things started, which means that things went over time, which means that we had to shut down the venue, or that the venue had to be shut down. Because I think that there was a Tyler the Creator show that night. So I think they had to be out of there by 8, and the show was going to start at 9 or 10 or whatever it was. So the cops shut it down and kicked them all out. And I think that, or well, definitely that Tay-Rock Charlie Clips got canceled and postponed. It was going to be the next day, but then it wasn't going to be the next day. And I've seen Tay-Rock say, like, this is the biggest rematch in years. We need to have this on a main stage. So it sounds like he's holding out for the next big URL event.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to do it at the PGs the next day. And the other one that suffered was T-Rex Cortez, which there was a lot of like arguments over time limits, and I think from what I could tell in the tweets, it was like T-Rex and Cortez battled Smack as much as they battled each other because they were arguing over like, you know, let me go, let me get these bars off or whatever. So I think that
they were getting cut off.
I think there was some talk about like, you know, Smack said, "Oh yeah, you guys signed a 2-minute round contract."
Wow,
and neither of them said that.
You don't see guys getting cut off in URL. They should start doing more of that.
Yeah, fair enough. So, well, we can, depending on how we want to transition this. So URL, I think, took a bit of a hit, but they were very quick in putting out the DNA Ill Will battle. Within a week, I think. It was out on Father's Day, and I guess the event had been the week before. So that's impressive. You know, that definitely is a check mark in the right direction.
They generally are on
that
stuff.
And then, so I guess we can. You haven't seen the DNA Ill Will battle yet, but I think we can use this to transition to who's up right now. And you know, I think in a lot of people's eyes, DNA is up. He beat Ill Will. His performance that night was the one that people were saying, that people were talking about the most. His first round specifically, if you watch this footage, he has the crowd going crazy, and you know, 1,000 people in this place, all fucking going bananas. And did you see the trailer for it?
No.
Okay, so the trailer, it's like, what did he say to get people so riled up, and like the whole stage is like, everybody's falling over. It's just insane.
And in the end, was the line even that good?
The line was, "Get him the fuck out of here."
Oh.
It was a slogan. It was a slogan.
Oh, yeah. Fucking slogan.
But it's the like, because Smack had said, "Oh, DNA is gonna get killed by Ill Will," and he's like, get
Smack the fuck out of here.
He goes, if I'm gonna lose, fuck you, Smack. Get Smack the fuck out of here. And then he like is kind of like wilding all over the place and knocks the microphone out of Smack's hand. So Smack's like, as everyone's going, no, I from what I can tell, it's not on purpose.
Okay.
But like as everybody's like, Queen's Flip, the Quiet Room Battles guy, is there like, hype manning like crazy, and you can hear him everything he's yelling, and so he's going crazy, and everybody's going crazy, and then like Smack's like, trying to find the microphone on the stage. It's just like, it's this crazy moment. And even like, I think Bishop Brigante, who was there, tweeted like, this might be the greatest round of all time. And then once
of all time, oh my god!
And then once the footage came out, Luke from our MBVA was like, Bishop, we need to talk. Like, it was not the greatest round of all time. It was a lot of.
I feel like people say that every time, like Hitman.
Oh yeah.
Performs, like his first was the best round I've ever seen.
And even Bishop was like, "Oh,
someone hacked my Twitter account."
He was like, "I don't know, man. Maybe I meant like the best received
was he
DNA round of all time." And he was like, "I was in the back. I was taking photos. I was smoking." So anyhow, but he is right that the energy from that first round is unlike anything. It's crazy.
It's tough. People forget, and I mean, DNA for the past year prior to these 3 recent matches has been a bit of a punching bag.
Yeah,
like he, got killed by pass.
Yeah.
Came with like 3 rounds of pass name flips.
Or like words that sound like pass name flips.
Yeah. And, like Arcane beat him probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was
up for debate, battle. But it wasn't a great battle.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sharon got him. He did well against Sharon. But
he did pretty well, but I think the consensus is that Sharon beat him. Like, there was a time there when it was like, oh, he's 0 for 5 in KOTD recently.
Yeah.
So, he was definitely a punching bag. It seems like he took a few months off, which is what he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's just good for a battler to, like, take some time off, find their motivation, think about why they do this shit in the first place, aside from getting checks, which I'm sure DNA gets a lot of, and a lot of offers. But I mean, it's tough to, people forget like his battle versus Disaster is like the #1 KOTD battle for views. It was huge.
Yeah.
People forget like one of the funniest battles of all time was Summer Madness 2, him versus Enes. Enes was just...
Was that Summer Madness 2?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that was like E-Madness, or E-Madness. Enes was fucking up and going insane. And, sort of like what you were describing, like, the crowd was going insane for DNA in that, and he just absolutely smoked Enes. And, like, it's easy to forget that he's this guy that just has, so much talent, and he can really move crowds in a live atmosphere in a way that not many guys can.
Especially the New York crowd, too.
Yeah.
He's a guy, too, that it really impresses me how many views he can still pull.
Oh, yeah.
That, I think the Arcane, we can look it up if it's important, but, like, if you look at all of his battles, he does a lot of views. You mentioned 3 battles, so the 3 that we're talking about are DNA versus Ill Will, which just came out, DNA versus Prez Mafia, also on URL, part of the NOME 4 warm-up from, I guess, about a month ago or so. And this, again, really showed how impressive DNA can be, A, in front of a New York crowd, and B, at his best. So he did a lot of freestyling. He did a lot of rebuttaling. He did some nice rebuttals against Ill Will as well. But he won the battle against Prez, who was one of the top up-and-comers. Ill Will is even more one of the top up-and-comers. Both of these guys are being groomed by the URL as Ill Will, especially as an exclusive contract guy, which is, I think, what kept him out of the King of the Dot stuff for the last little while.
Yeah.
So to have one of your guys who a lot of people see as like, as you mentioned, a punching bag or someone who hasn't been very impressive lately, just like tear through 2 of your top next guys is going to slow both of their momentum down. So presumably they gave those guys DNA because they thought that DNA would lose to those guys.
Yes,
and that would would establish those guys as the next guys. And then the last one, the third battle that you mentioned, Celebrity Cell, which is, what is it, 413 Battle League? I haven't even watched the battle yet.
I haven't seen it either.
I think it was a one-rounder, but I think basically DNA did what he did in the same thing he did as the other 2 battles, which is be fine.
Yeah, I mean, and this is sort of, I think going into a lot of these battles, people probably thought, DNA is going to lose. Like, I certainly thought Ill Will would have taken care of business against him, just based on the career trajectories of both guys.
Yeah.
The fact that, and when it comes down to it, Ill Will's nowhere near the level of DNA, right? DNA should be taking care of business against those guys, and the fact that he is, when so many top-tier guys kind of mail it in and allow their sort of fan base to be like 2-1, 3-0. Like, the fact that he's not even like leaving room for debate is a really good sign. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ill Will's third was actually pretty good, and I think it's the start of his second that he kind of talks shit about New York and then gets booed a little bit, and it kind of throws off his momentum at least.
Is he from Michigan?
He's from Pontiac.
Okay, so same as JC.
Yeah. And Snow.
Wow, they got a bit of a scene going on.
There's good stuff over there. Huh. So, I don't know. I think that some people will say, like, oh, well, Ill Will 2-1 because the crowd was with DNA and whatever. Ill Will's third was actually really nice. And
I recently saw the RMBVA poll on it, and it was like an overwhelming majority for DNA.
For DNA.
Actually. Yeah. And I mean that forum they are like some of the harshest DNA critics out there. Yeah. So they think he had an overwhelming majority. That's a really good sign.
Yeah. Cool. So DNA is up. Good for him. I think the other one that, especially today, and I assume that they're going to stay on the up and up, is the Total Slaughter Battle League. This is, a lot of people are saying Eminem's Battle League. Hard to say exactly how much Eminem has to do with it.
He's probably never even heard of it.
Well,
no, I'm joking.
Yeah. He won't be at it. We know that because he'll be playing Wembley Stadium that weekend.
Is that Glastonbury? What is that?
That is.
It's at Wembley.
I think
he just has his own concert.
He just has his own concert. 2 nights at Wembley, sold out Wembley.
Huh?
It's gonna be a big deal. So.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
Well, yeah.
TS.
But so TS in the past, I think on this podcast and elsewhere, we have been openly skeptical about how much they care about battling versus how much they care about selling Slaughterhouse albums and, I guess, pay-per-views for this event. We've finally seen some of the first footage from the TV show. It's now officially a TV show, because initially it was not going to be a TV show, or maybe initially it was, and then for a while we didn't know if it was going to be, and it was going to just appear on the web. It's on Fuse TV, which is a channel that I've never heard of.
I've heard of it, but I don't think we get it in Canada.
I don't think so either. I think it's an American music specialty channel.
Yeah. It's not the one Al Gore owns, is it?
Oh, I wonder. I hope it is. That would be great. Let's look into that.
He owns some television channel, but we'll see.
Okay.
He owns something.
I'll look that up.
It could be Fuse, could be something with a similar-ish name.
Okay. So it is going to appear on there. It will be censored, but so is UFF. And uncensored versions of the episodes will, I guess, eventually appear on watchloud.com, which is the Shady Records branch, online media branch. So from the footage we have seen, it looks pretty good. And then the other information that we now know about Total Slaughter is they did a Q&A on RMBVA this afternoon. I don't know if it's still going on. I looked at it for a couple hours today. And I think, what's the word? Assuaged a lot of the fears that a lot of the people who are really into battling had about some exploitative, corporation getting their hands on these battlers and putting out this footage. So, from what I could tell from the Total Slaughter account, it's, I believe, one of the producers of the show, and maybe someone that works at Shady Films or something, who run the Twitter feed, but this Q&A was done by, I guess, one of them. Seems on the up and up. Seems like he's more interested in pleasing the core group of battle fans than than bringing it to a mainstream market.
Yeah. I would say, if there are any battle fans out there listening to this who are, trying to get into PR or who are in PR, go see how they dealt with it on the forum. I was reading the answers and being like, man, this is way better than I was expecting. And, they just seemed like a professional outfit. The answers they were giving were right.
Yep.
I didn't feel like I was being, spun, intentionally spun by some company, trying to get rid of my fears with the whole series. I thought they did just a very good straight-up job. They seemed to have very clear, reasonable answers for everything that was being asked. People were like, hey, why have you guys been so quiet lately? And it was well, we came out of, we came out with such force, and, a lot of people got the wrong impression, so, we've been, we've just been quieter lately, but tomorrow we're, starting, sort of a proper campaign into it. And I was like, huh. Before I was like, this is all really suspicious why they were, so loud at first, and now they're, kind of inactive on social media.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. It's almost like they're kind of reacting and responding to, what people out there are actually saying about it.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, you know, they also said, oh, well, you know, we're in tune with the different battle blogs and the forums and stuff like that. And, you know, and those are the people that you want to get on your side. Like, the mere fact that they're answering questions on RMBVA tells you a lot.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just like a masterclass in how to handle your company's PR. Really,
yeah.
Like, it was great.
And how to diffuse a possibly hostile crowd.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there are comments on RMBVA too. Like, as I'm reading the first few answers, I'm like, man, this is like surprisingly good. And then people start commenting like, wow, I was really skeptical about this.
Yeah.
Now I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck is doing the PR for you guys? Like, who is this? This is great.
It also led me to look up IMDb's entry of Total Slaughter, which I have found. Let me read you a little bit of information about director, Daniel E. Catullo. Award-winning director and producer who lives in Los Angeles, born in 1971 in Yonkers, New York. He is best known for his work with the bands Rush, Mariah Carey, Rage Against the Machine, Godsmack, Dave Matthews Band, and Alter Bridge, but has recently become involved in documentaries and feature films. He is an executive producer of the award-winning documentary The Square, which was recently shortlisted for an Oscar and is in pre-production to direct his first feature film and blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. So he's the director. I presume for the show, it just says Total Slaughter 1. So I don't know if he's like going to direct the footage from the live event, or if he's actually just, you know, if this is an entry for the reality show. The other listed as writer for IMDb is a woman named Jackie Moore. She, let's see. I think she's been writing for reality TV shows before. Cast and crew. Cast is Loaded Lux playing himself, Joe Budden playing himself, Hollow the Dawn, and Mook. So I was hoping that there might be an indication of who else is actually on the card. There's still 2 more battles. One
of them is Daylight T-Rex, presumably.
From what I know, yes. Yeah. They were the ones who won. And excuse me,
is Daylight still in Dot Mob?
That's a good question. I haven't heard him say
these rap crews are so ridiculous.
And excuse me, they're saying the last battle on the card will be 2 more guys from the house, which I'm not sure.
Which doesn't necessarily. Oh, okay. It's like a 3rd place match. Is it just 2 random guys that they want to see go up against
maybe
each other?
Maybe like they didn't get along in the footage or something, and like, but most of those guys have battled each other recently. Like unless you're putting
Disaster.
Or Disaster Cortez or Disaster Averb, Disaster Hoffa, which I think just kind of, it's like maybe you have Big T, and that's one
of the few.
Marv 1 Disaster. Like Disaster would be
Big T versus Marv 1 for best fattest rapper. I don't know.
Those guys are fat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they could do, because presumably they would want Disaster because he's probably the most famous out of the rest, out of all of them, just for the cannabis win. But
yeah, and he's like, not to sound weird, but he's the only. I won't even say that.
All right, we'll skip that. But he's a big name. Marv 1 is definitely, he might be a better battle rapper in your opinion, but he's not necessarily like a big stage presence that can.
Disaster brings in maybe you can reach a slightly different fan base than you can with all those guys who are kind of appeal all to certain certainly the URL UW and a subsect of KOTD as well.
Yeah. But the venue holds 2,200 people.
Yeah.
That they're doing this, and Hollow Joe. I don't know what to expect from this. They also confirmed in the Q&A live pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So tune into that, I guess. But 2,200 people. We've definitely seen crowds of 500 ruin a battle. We've seen crowds of 1,000 ruin a battle.
Oh, yeah.
With 4 battles on the card, I don't know what to expect. I don't know if it'll be good because it'll keep people's attention longer. I don't know if they're going to have, is Slaughterhouse going to do a performance that night? Probably.
Yeah.
Actually in the Q&A they said the big surprise was going to be that Eminem was going to appear, but now he's not.
It's
like, okay, well,
going to be in the country.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So anyhow, Total Slaughter still up. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next. I look forward to seeing that show.
I'm definitely hyped for it. So the part with them like in the house. So they released like basically a minute or minute and 30-second clip today, which was basically guys ripping daylight.
Right.
Is it good? Are they putting out something which is like it's like the real world, but with like a bunch of battlers living together? Like, do they have to like live in a house
for a week? Yeah.
For a week, I guess that's manageable. Like is Cortez bunking with daylight? Like, is that how it's working?
I think it's.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be on the bunk below Big T.
You were all about the fat jokes.
Well, okay. One thing I forgot to mention with the last thing is Avocado in the wrap up for Vendetta. Like, he posted something on RMBVA, which was like, man, Big T is so fat. I don't even know how you get that fat. It's like, and the way he worded it though was so hilarious. And then like, there was a photo that a lot of people were sharing from that event, which was like the side profile of Big T, and his stomach. Like, I didn't even think Big T was that.
He
big.
looks like an uppercase D.
Yeah, like he was massive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I tweeted that night. He is like 2 airplane seats big.
Oh,
he is a very large guy.
But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see the dynamic of these guys living in a house. Mm-hmm. Like, they're going to get on each other's nerves, right?
Disaster also tweeted something today that said, I think every once in a while I'll take a screenshot of things that I think are going to come up in conversation later, which is includes this one. Disaster said, when you guys see the footage on TV, don't believe everything you're seeing. It's all for show. A lot of shit is exaggerated for new fan base. So, that just sounds like reality TV to me.
Yeah. No, like, I think anyone with half a brain is going to watch it and not think, like, hey, Disaster is some crazy racist or something. It's going to be like, no, they edited it, however they wanted to make him out to be is how they're going to edit it, right? And they're just gonna make probably Daylight look crazy if they can.
Yeah.
But really, they should be making Loaded Lux look crazy.
All right. So enough about Total Slaughter. Let us get to the predictions for BOLA5. Let me I'm going to break out the card here so we can have a look at it. We're just going to work our way up the card. Starting with Marlowe and Shuffle T versus Dirtbag Dan and Caustic. Initial thoughts on that?
Maybe the battle I'm most looking forward to. First time that Marlowe and Shuffle T will have been outside of Don't Flop, I guess, right?
Yep.
Stateside debut.
Yep. First UK battlers on the Fresh Coast since and Kruger in 2012, June of 2012.
That was the cannabis event, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, for obvious reasons, that one's going to be great. And it seems like Caustic and Dirtbag Dan, like I saw the video that came out today.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet.
They seem motivated. They seem, I was only kind of half watching because I was working, but it seems like, Caustic, doesn't really take a lot of this stuff seriously, but like him and Dirtbag Dan get together a couple nights a week to like write and, throw out ideas basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're doing this type of stuff, I feel like those guys have a lot to prove too. Like clearly everyone thinks Marlo and Shovel T are the best 2-on-2 team in the world. I mean, they crushed Marv 1 and
Quest McCody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one can really touch them right now. So I think,
except for maybe Wizard and Scissors, but that's enough.
Well, yeah, but they weren't at their best there. At their best, they're clearly better than any 2-on-2 team.
And definitely, I think they really want to kill this. They want to impress.
Who? Both, I think.
I think both of them do.
Yeah, I think both want to kill it. I think that's what's going to make it a great battle.
And I also think that Dirtbag Dan and Caustic have just as much chemistry as a 2-on-2, despite having never battled together.
Hey, if you're recording podcasts every week, as they do, like for the past year or so, like they're
friends. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's either Caustic and Dirtbag Dan or Frank Stacks or something.
Yeah.
Like either of those would have been great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I think that's the best. What we have is the best possible duo for it. I think it's going to be an outstanding battle, and
I think that'll be battle of the night.
No, I think so too. I think that. I mean, both of them have every reason to try extremely hard in this. The only thing that would hold it back is if someone just completely fucks something up. But I think both of them are going to be so prepared that I highly doubt that will be the case.
Do you expect Caustic... So Caustic is, from what I can tell, a very funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
On Twitter, on Facebook, in the Dirtbag Dan Show, he is comic relief. In a lot of his most recent battles, he has been... Well, in a lot of his battles in general, it's like he's more mean than he is funny. He's also funny when he's being mean, but it's like the Jefferson Price, the Q Shinobi, the even the Verb, he's off, quite mean in a lot of it. But I hope to see the side of Caustic that we saw in that Mr. 13 battle, which a lot of people slept on. But
I liked that one.
That was one. And it was like, there was no bullshit personals. Yeah. There was no like, oh, that round just ended that guy's relationship. There was none of that extra.
Same with, what was that one in Alberta?
Daly?
Yeah, the Daly one. That was fucking hilarious as well. And that, again, like, they weren't really personals. It was more just like Daly left, and then he freestyles like, "Man, that was extra bad."
Yeah,
but it wasn't quite as bad. Or no, but it was an awesome impression
of your dad.
Like stuff like that. Like that type of stuff. He's so good at that type of humor. Just like ripping on. He kind of does it in the Verb thing a little bit, just like ripping on his clothes and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to. He's kind of earned the reputation as like the extreme like personal angle guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure what he's gonna find on like.
Yeah.
What's he gonna say about Marlo and Shovel T? That they're like probably well educated and ambitious and like
and nice guys
and they're like kind of nerdy. It's like I don't know. Like I don't think there's gonna be much anyway. It would be like if it's just like purely funny and just like going after more a character and less about the guy like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Then I think it's going to be a great battle.
Yeah. I that's a good point. And I think that my prediction for Marlo and Shuffle T's angle will be that they go in on Caustic for being kind of an evil person. For being someone who like has this storm cloud following him in battles. They'll probably go in on him over the Verb like race war. The race war that almost came out of him versus Verb. I don't know. We'll see what the concept is, because they always do a good job of like bringing a full round or full battle concept. But I think that'll be phenomenal. That's the one that I really wish that I could be there for. for live. Unfortunately, neither of us will be in the building for it. Moving up the card, the next battle to talk about is the Dead Man versus Head Ice. What do you think about this one?
Totally forgot about this one. Yeah. It's a great opportunity for the Dead Man.
Yeah. So I guess if you forgot about it, then at least you won't be disappointed if it's a bad one.
Always like seeing Head Ice.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like the coolest old motherfucker in the scene.
Yep.
But, I mean, really, I feel like I just need to see what the outcome is. I don't even really know what to predict from this. I would say, like, Head Ice is going to just, like, out-cool him.
Yeah.
You know, like, he can just, like, go up there and spit whatever. Like, it'll probably be fine, but, like, I don't know. Head Ice is tough. Like, it's tough to go up against that guy just because, like, the crowd really fucks with Ice.
Yeah. His personality and his presence. Were you in the building for Ice versus Pat?
Yes.
Yeah. That and then I saw him. Yeah, great battle. And like, I don't know, Ice is just a cool dude in general, and the Dead Man is too. I think the Dead Man's almost like, compared to Head Ice, is very much a junior here. This is a big shot for him.
Oh yeah, he's got to be thanking KOTD staff every day for this opportunity. It's huge. So,
I don't think it'll be, like, even if it's a classic, I don't think it'll do big, huge views. I think that, Dead Man's been involved in some very good battles. I think his Thesaurus battle was great. I think his AM battle early last year was one of KOTD's top 10 battles of the year that no one watched.
Yeah.
I think he can be very good, and I think he lost to Chilla and was just kind of okay in that. Had some good lines. Has he done anything since then? Oh, he did well in South Africa recently too.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
It's him versus Pava Gun, a guy named Pava Guns from South Africa. He's always very good, but it's like he's got. I guess he's a bit like Head Ice in that it's a very.
Did he face Remedy at Battle?
Yeah, and Remedy like went crazy, and Dead Man stumbled all over the place, and Remy like had one of those standout. That was Remy's last standout performance.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah. So, anyhow, I think Dead Man versus Head Ice will be a good to great battle, but even if it's great, I don't think all that many people will pay attention to it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Next on the card, Real Deal versus Chilla Jones. This has been a long time in the making.
Yeah.
You've had Real Deal call out the biggest mark to come out of
Boston since
Wahlberg. Yeah. So he said that at World Dom 4. So that's been almost.
Yeah, that was like one of the lines of the event as well. Like people went crazy when he said that. Yeah. That was the Rhone battle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Chilla responded in that Dead Man battle at Battle of the Bay 6 saying some sped ed or something.
Dead bus or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is finally a battle with some history to it. I think both of these guys want to beat each other.
Yeah, I think this could be dark horse for Battle of the Night.
Yep.
Because, I mean, Real Deal always brings it. Chilla has shown that, like, unlike some guys from URL, like, he brings same quality over to KOTD. Like, he's not half-assing it at all. And the fact that both of these guys, have been talking about each other in their battles, and I wouldn't say there's necessarily bad blood between the two, but, like, they're clearly both competitive guys, and they want to get the upper hand on each other. Like, that alone is going to propel this battle to, I think, a really good place. Yeah,
I agree. I think that both of these guys seem to be, like, very decent human beings. I like both of them from having met them in the past, but also just interacting with them on social media and seeing them interact with other people. They seem like both very humble, friendly, nice guys. So I think that I can't see either of them being particularly cutthroat in this battle. I think Chilla's going to bring like heavy bars and a ton of name flips because Real Deal is just, that's rife.
You ain't real. Deal.
Something like that. So, yeah, I think you're right that it could be Dark Horse Battle of the Night. Next up, Big K versus Danny Myers.
Could be also Battle of the Night.
Yeah, I think crowd reaction wise, like both of those guys, both at both Battle of the Base 6, Myers versus Nitty day 1, K versus Immaculate day 2, were both the highlights of each of their respective nights, and probably the two most impressive performances of the night, and also or of the weekend, and also like of the year.
Yeah.
You know, they both had their breakout within about 24 hours of each other.
Yeah.
And at V2R, they both got the biggest crowd reactions of the night. So I think that this is the kind of battle that like the crowd is going to go bananas for. I think it's like going to tear the roof off the building. And it's a bit of a weird matchup. Like, I don't know what they'll really say to each other.
I don't think it's even going to matter.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, even if you look at, like, Big K versus the Suarez, he's like, an uppercut him through the roof like Mortal Kombat.
Right.
It doesn't really have anything to do with the Suarez, but it's just like...
It's a dope bar.
Yeah, it's just dope bars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as both of them bring dope bars, it doesn't really matter. Like, at this point, I don't even know what you would say about either guy. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, Big K's pretty tough, and he writes good bars.
Yeah.
Like, which makes him amazing in the battle sphere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as long as both guy brings what they're known to do, I don't see how this battle could be bad.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think we nailed it. Next on the card, O-Red versus Rum Nitty. This is O-Red's debut, KOTD debut, versus a rapidly rising Rum Nitty, who they clearly are pushing on the West Coast, and the fans seem to like him.
Yeah,
he's
like the West Coast Tycoon Tax.
He is, except he's winning battles.
Yeah.
I don't think he won against Magic. I think he got around, but
yeah, he held his own.
Yeah, and he didn't disappoint at all in that battle. He was still very good.
Yeah.
So Nitty versus O-Red. Again, this is kind of a weird matchup style wise. I don't know. There's not much to say about it, really.
There really isn't. It's kind of like Head Ice Dead Man. It's like, you know, I'll when it comes out, I'll see what it's about.
Yeah.
Like it could really go anyway. Like I think no matter what, I think Nitty's going to come with a pretty good performance. Like he doesn't really disappoint. You know, I don't think he's really had any bad performances in a while. I didn't love his B Magic one, but like I said, he held his own.
Yeah.
So I mean, with some of these matches, it's like the wild card is like, you know, how good is O-Red going to be, or like, what's he going to bring to the table?
Yeah. His last performance was against Hitman at UW's High Stakes, which I think he was sick for, but he wasn't impressive. Hitman got, from what I recall, I haven't watched it since the pay-per-view, but from what I recall, Hitman won very clearly 2-1. I think O-Red got a round. And in that round, he was good and Hitman was trash, but Hitman's other stuff was good and O-Red's was trash. Took him a long time to get his momentum going, I think, was the issue in that. Part of it, he wasn't getting much crowd reaction. He was drinking a lot of water. So I guess we'll see. I think he probably wants to bounce back from that. But also, and this also goes for Big K and Math Hoffa on this card, they're all appearing a week later on this RBE card. So it's going to be Hoffa versus O-Red and Big K versus Big Cannon, I believe.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
So that card's July 5th. So it's literally a week later. So
quick turnaround for those guys.
Yeah. So I wonder if, for all of them, what's the bigger battle? And I would argue that it's King of the Dot compared to RBE. So maybe they'll do really well here and
I think
Portland there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for O-Red, as an opponent, he's looking at Hoffa and maybe bringing some of his better bars for that one.
Yeah.
In terms of views and distribution, like it should be KOTD. On the other hand, I do think for Hoffa, like there's more incentive for him to do really well against Disaster than O-Red.
Yeah, true.
So it'd be interesting to see
and
how people respond to that. Is that in Chicago?
That is in New York, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
That's ARP's Battle League. He's just this dude that's everywhere. So I'm curious to see how Big K does in both of those battles weeks back to back, because
it's gonna be challenging
for sure for a guy who's for a while was struggling with chokes.
And I mean he's put that to rest. Like he's certainly taking battles more seriously now than he was before. And I mean we have an interview with him and he basically said that he's taking battling seriously now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's done 2 really good KOTD battles. Didn't fuck up in either of those.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, maybe there was half a second where it seemed like it could go either way, and he just picked it back up and recovered fully.
Yeah, I remember.
Really minor stuff though.
Yeah, that was in the Ilmac battle that happened, and I remember someone in the crowd jumped on him and was like, "Oh!" and then he picked it up. And
people, I actually hate when the crowd does that. When they're so quick to be like, "Whoa!" If someone just pauses an extra beat to find themselves. It's just chill the fuck out for a second. It's not a Pesci moment right now.
Right.
Let's just chill the fuck out. So that's definitely gonna be if Big K can get through both of those without any slip ups, then it's no one can use a choking angle on the guy.
Yeah.
Until he chokes again.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait. So we haven't actually called any of these battles.
Oh. Yeah, fair enough. This is a predictions segment, isn't it?
So hold on, I'm gonna actually take notes so that we can compare after it actually happens. So starting back down at the bottom of the card, or actually let's go through the full card and then at the end we'll do prediction. We'll do actual predictions. Daylight versus Charlie Clips. This it's one of those. Yeah. Battles that when they announced it, I was like, oh, whatever.
Maybe they should make it a #1 contenders match.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
Just to put something on the line for it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of oh, I don't really see the connection of the two of them battling each other. But I think I also said something similar to that with Daylight and Chilla Jones, and that proved me wrong. And also with Big K and Ilmac, and that definitely proved me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just not very good at predicting these, but. Daylight and Charlie Clips, I think, are the 2 top guys in the scene right now. So why shouldn't they battle?
Yeah, if they're down to battle, go for it.
Yeah,
they're both pretty good. I mean, we last year were they our #2 and 3 battlers of the year last year?
I believe it was. I think it was
2 and 3 or 2 and 4.
I think Daylight was #3 and Clips was definitely #2. Yeah.
And I mean, right now, this year, I think we've got certainly Daylight on track to be Battler of the Year, or at least top 3, I would say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Clips is still, great. He killed Conceded in January in Toronto. So, I'm excited to see what comes out of this, actually. I think Daylight's going to do something. He's not going to keep it all bars, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do something. It'll still be about the bars in the end, but he'll have something goofy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to do that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just think he will.
I don't expect him to try to punk Clips.
No, he won't punk Clips. He'll wear it'll be like when Dennis Rodman wore a wedding dress.
Okay.
Like,
when was that?
Oh, that was in his playing days. He wore a wedding, like he dressed in.
What, to a press conference?
He dressed in drag, and there was just a bunch of media around. I forget. It was in the streets of New York, maybe. He'll just do something like weird. I feel because like Clips has a decent sense of humor. Like you don't see Clips like. I've never seen Clips take shit too seriously.
Unless you throw water on his shoes.
Yeah. Well, you can't fuck with a man's sneakers. Fully back him on that. No, so I could see, like, you know, some people get, like, too crazy about it and they'll want to fight, but, like, I could see just Clips, like, laughing it off, and then he'll have, like, a freestyle about it.
Yeah.
I could see him, like, doing something weird, but, yeah, I don't think he would punk Charlie Clips, necessarily.
Yeah. I think that Daylight's smart enough to realize that if he wants to beat Charlie Clips, he's going to have to do something similar to what he did with Be Magic, which was just like
concept.
Some big concept, something like the best description of Daylight versus Magic that I've heard. I just heard a couple days ago. Someone on Twitter said that it was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters play. What is it? The Washington Generals, yeah. So it was like, sure, the Generals have good fundamentals, but the Harlem Globetrotters are just going to like walk all over them. So I kind of expect something a bit like that, where he'll, be, jumping off a trampoline and dunking, or, alley-ooping to whoever is going to catch the ball and dunk it for him. But, yeah, so I expect that will be a very entertaining battle. Next on the list, Immaculate versus Averb.
Yeah. Well, Averb's got his work cut out for him. Like, he's really got to redeem himself here.
But I don't know if the problem
you don't know if he has in his mind, he might not be thinking that at all.
No.
He might be like, I can coast, like, on the Averb name forever.
Yeah, I beat Disaster 3-0. I beat Caustic 3-0. Yeah. I'm going to beat Ilmac 3-0.
Yeah, at this point, like, I've not been impressed with his performances in KOTD so far. And, I mean, if you've heard Big K's rant on his Angry Fan, right?
Yeah.
He was like, I saw him the next day. The guy was not sick. Of course, Averb...
Caustic said something similar, too.
Yeah, and, like, Averb was tweeting, I had to go to the hospital. It's like, dude, you just didn't write a third round. Like, he kind of fucked up. I mean... This isn't like a battle called on 12 days notice or something like that. The last time Ilmac battled, it was Battle of the Year. He is one of the greatest battlers of all time. Definitely. He's kind of a guy like Thesaurus, although he doesn't battle as much as Thesaurus, but he kind of like spans the different eras of battling.
Yeah.
And he certainly has like, the titles and all these different things to go along with it. If he half-asses it, if Verb half-asses it, he's going to get killed, except that his stupid fan base. Sorry to his fan base that is listening, although I doubt it.
They don't care about our show.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to be like, he's corny. Ilmac's corny.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, like, there's no incentive for Averb to perform unless deep down, without admitting it, he is kind of embarrassed about what happened versus Caustic.
Well, I think that this battle would not be on the card if it weren't for the multi-battle deal that KOTD signed with Averb.
Right.
I think after the Caustic performance and the Shoddy no-show, him no-showing against Shoddy in Toronto for Blackout 4, and then the Caustic performance, that I can't imagine, if he does anything similar to either of those things here, I don't think we'll ever see King of the Dot book him again. Especially since, I haven't double-checked, but I think the views for Caustic Verb are very low. There's an argument to be made if he can half-ass it and still get 300,000 views, but I think they are not on track to be getting that. With the most recent one.
Right.
I think that Ilmac is going to kill Averb. I think that he's got so much material to work with just from Averb's KOTD appearances that, that he'll be able to put it in words very clearly. My guess is that Ilmac is a lot like us in that he's not impressed either, and that he's seen the kind of BS that has come with that guy's performances. And hopefully, I hope he has a lot to say about it, because, it might actually stick if Ilmac kills him.
Yeah. I think he's also like the source in the sense, I think, Ilmac, that, like, he's going to take pretty direct angles on Verb.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably will stick. Like, he will... I don't think he's going to let a lot of this more recent stuff with Verb slide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, which is great for us, because it's going to be really entertaining to go through all this BS.
Yeah. I almost wouldn't be surprised if Verb doesn't show up for the battle.
Really?
That's an outlandish prediction, but, I don't know if Verb's ever done that before, but I don't know. He must see it coming as well.
Yeah.
Ilmac's too good to sleep on.
Or but then maybe he's thinking, I gotta really try.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be an absolute classic too. We'll see.
We'll see. We have no reason to believe that it will be.
Yeah. And top of the card, Math Hoffa versus Disaster. These two have been going at it for years. To the point where you can actually go to BattleRap.com and see a piece that I wrote for them about a brief history of all of the beef between the two of them. Starting a couple years ago, they were beefing on Twitter, arguing about, I think Hoffa was calling out Disaster for ducking him in a battle, and Disaster was saying, oh, nobody's looking for you, you're washed up, nobody cares about you. Then it was talking about slapping each other. There's been a lot of physical threats between the two of them. But then months later, appearing in interviews together, smiling and joking, and oh, I'll battle you. Oh, I'll battle you. So, but it seems like we have swung back to the let's fight era. Especially, it was, I think, right after Hoffa punched Sirius Jones in their Summer Madness 3 battle, that Disaster took real offense to that and was really calling him out a lot after that. So finally this has happened. It's happening in LA, which again Disaster had said, oh, he'll never battle me in LA, but here it's coming. As we mentioned before, Hoffa's battling ORED a week later in New York, so we'll see where his mind's at. But what are you expecting from that battle, Math Hoffa versus Disaster?
I think it's going to be entertaining. I think they're going to... Maybe... There's going to be, some shit-talking. I feel like there's going to be, that type of shit-talking that, is not in the bars. It's going to be, in between rounds. Oh, you fucking suck. You fucking pussy. They're going to do that sort of stuff. Whether it's posturing or not, who knows. But, I mean, I feel like Disaster can push his buttons knowing that, Hoffa can't throw another punch again. Otherwise, the guy's career's over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shitty position for Hoffa to be in, because, guys now are going to, people were kind of goading him before into that stuff, and then he just, creamed Sirius Jones.
Yeah.
Creamed was probably the not a good choice of words, but yeah, I mean, so now I think that Disaster is going to be he's probably going to get in his face and do his aggressive thing and spit 20 words per second and try and agitate him, knowing full well that Hoffa can't do shit, and I'm sure there's going to be something in the contract with KOTD where if he throws a punch and shuts down the venue, guy's not getting paid.
Yeah,
right?
that'll have to be the last battle of the night.
Yeah, oh yeah. But on the other hand, I'm actually really excited to see Hoffa, because I actually like him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a terrible guy. I think he's a guy who lets his emotions get the better of him at times.
Mm-hmm.
Sirius Jones was being kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of deserved it. But he can be, he's a really entertaining guy when he's on his shit, I think. Like, I mean, we had last year as one of our top URL battles, like the rematch versus Dose.
He was great in that.
He's like when he's like really rapping with conviction and really into it. I mean, I think he's one of the best out there doing it. So I'm excited to see that. And then I guess like, is this Disaster's first battle since the Pat Stay
retirement?
Since he retired,
except that he.
Well, I guess he did the Total Slaughter,
right? And battled Math in it. The first actually.
Do you think they'll talk about that in the battle at all?
I think that they might, because I believe that the first episode will be that battle. I think there's 4 episodes, so I wonder if it's like, the first round will be in the first episode, the second round will be in however it's going to break down. But yes, that battle will be, that footage from Total Slaughter will be out before they battle. Huh. And I expect it'll make a big splash. So,
what do you expect from that battle?
A lot of the same stuff that we've seen them argue about for the last 2 years. I think that Diz is going to bring up the, Daylight pouring water on him. Diz is going to have Daylight in his corner.
Yeah.
He'll probably incorporate Daylight somehow. There'll be, I think Diz will be very aggressive with Math, and I think that Math will try to keep Zen for a lot of it. I think that's the only way he can beat him, is to have Disaster being really aggressive and him just kind of laughing at Disaster the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that if he punches Disaster, then Disaster wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be an interesting battle. I think it would be a battle that I'd be more interested in being there in the room rather than seeing it on.
Which is probably how the Disaster Arsenal battle was. Because when we were in the room, we were like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, I still haven't watched it on footage.
And I've not watched it on footage. And like, in the venue, it was like, pretty high energy. Disaster went nuts in it. He probably edged it. But, outside of the venue, like, there's not as much reason to see it. Like, those guys have such big personalities and presences that it's almost better live. Yeah, and I would say that's the case with Disaster in most cases, right? Like, like watching back the Pat Stay, like the title match, the last title match, for whatever reason, Disaster's material like came off a lot sloppier than it did live.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because live we were like, we thought that Pat got it. We were like, man, that's kind of close. Like, that was the best we've seen Disaster in years. And then like watching his first round on tape, it was like he had to like run back his round like probably like 30 or 45 seconds back and redo it because he lost his place, and he's like blaming the crowd. And, he's almost just better, like a better live guy. And I would say even maybe DNA is the same as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
So let's, we're almost at the hour and 30 mark here. So let's quickly run down. I'm actually going to write down our predictions for these battles so that we can come back to them and see how we did. Again, so let's start at the top this time. Matt Hoffa versus Disaster. Matt, what's your round breakdown?
Round by, what if can I just do like a 2-1, 3-0? Okay, so I'm going to go 2-1 Disaster.
2-1 Diz. I'm going to say, just to be contrarian, 2-1 Math.
Yeah.
Ilmac Verb, I'm going to give it 2-1 Ilmac, but I'm going to say that he's going to body him in the third.
I'm going to go 3-0 for Ilmac.
Okay. It is recorded. Daylight versus Charlie Clips. Matt.
Gonna go Clips 2-1.
2-1 Clips. I'm going to say 2-1 Daylight, especially on camera.
Yeah.
Red Rum Nitty.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. I think there's, I don't know what they would say to each other. I'm going to say 2-1 Nitty.
I'm going to do the same, actually.
Okay.
I don't even want to go contrarian because I don't see...
It's just...
I don't see O-Red taking it.
Yeah. Big K, Danny Myers. Go first.
2-1 Big K.
2-1 K. I'm going to say 3-0 Big K.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think Big K is a better battler.
He is.
I do like Danny Myers. I think he's got a lot of heart, but I think Big K is going to crush him.
Better writer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Real Deal versus Chilla Jones.
That's actually tough.
Yeah, I think...
you could even call it a draw.
I'm going to say it's going to be a debatable battle. I think it's going to. I think it's going to split people down the middle.
I'll go. As much as it pains me, 2-1 Chilla.
2-1 Chilla. Okay. Dead Man Head Ice.
Head Ice 2-1.
And whatever. I'll say 2-1 Dead Man. I think this is another one that's going to be tough to call.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's a preference, and if you prefer Ice, you're always going to give it to Ice.
Oh,
he's so consistent. He's too good. And then the 2-on-2 Marlowe and Shuffle T. I'm going to give that 2-1 for the Brits.
Hate to do it, but I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, for the Brits. I can't see them losing.
So, and then let's do some fun predictions. I think Battle of the Night is Marlowe, Shuffle T, and Dirtbag Dan.
I'll go with Big K Danny Myers.
Yep, I think that's a good call. Body Bag of the Night, I'm going to say Ilmac over Verb.
I'll agree with that one.
Yeah. What else? Expect anyone to choke?
Ooh, choke, eh? Huh. Let me take a...
Yeah, you want to look at the card again?
Yeah, let me look at the card here. Choking... Say O-Red, Rum Nitty.
There's going to be a choke in there?
Yeah.
On one of them?
No idea who. One of them's going to fuck.
Somebody's going to choke.
Yeah.
What
about Sleeper of the Night?
Sleeper, I think, as we mentioned before, it's either Real Deal Chilla or Dead Man Ice.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Makes sense.
Yeah, I'll go for Real Deal Chilla.
Yeah. So I'll go for Head Ice Dead Man then.
Okay, and anything else we should call? Performance of the night?
Performance of the night. Go with Ilmac.
I was actually also going to say Ilmac, so now I'll try to find someone else.
Go with the Brits.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it could be Myers, it could be Big K.
Yeah. O-Red?
It could be. I mean, who knows? Who knows what to expect from O-Red? Could be Daylight. It could be anybody. I'm going to say Daylight with the performance of the night.
Sure. It's always not a bad pick.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's as much as we need to talk about. We're really looking forward to BOLA. I'd say check for our day one preview, which hopefully we'll have enough time to put together. Mm-hmm. So day one preview is something that we're going to work on. The other thing that we're going to work on is top 10 battlers of 2014 so far. After BOLA, we will have a pretty good indication of what has happened in the first 6 months of 2014. So, I think if you've made it this far, we'll give you a little teaser. I think Big K's in there. I think Danny Myers could be in there. Chilla Jones might be in there. Who else is up in that?
Daylight.
Oh, Daylight for sure.
Yeah. Rum
Nitty, definitely, if I didn't already say his name.
Brits could be back in there, depending on...
Yeah, if they kill it here, then for sure. Yeah, so I think this is a really nice card. This is actually the one. This is way better than V2R in my eyes. Yeah.
Do you regret going to V2R?
Yeah, V2R was good. It was. I'm happy to be there.
It was pretty good.
But for the on my own dime to go out there for a 1-day event, it's probably the last time I'll do that. I think only 2-day events from now.
Yeah, fair enough.
So thank you so much for listening. We had a great time. Hope you did too. And stay tuned.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.